For almost 2,000 years, the Jewish people had no country of their own. Their homeland was destroyed, their capital burned, and they were scattered across the world. That should have been the end of the story. Somehow, it wasn't. This is how they came back, and why this tiny strip of land became the center of one of the most explosive conflicts on Earth. 2,000 years ago, this land was called Judea, sitting inside the Roman Empire. Rome let a local king, Herod, run the place, a paranoid builder who doubled the size of Jerusalem's Temple Mount and built an entire port city on a coastline that had none. Rome squeezed harder, taxing the Jews until, in the year 66, they revolted and threw the Romans out. For 4 years, they ran their own land again. The Roman siege. Rome sent a bigger army. Most of what we know about the siege comes from Josephus. By the year 70, Jerusalem was starving. The Romans broke through, burned the temple to the ground, and killed as many as 500,000 people. The holiest site in the Jewish world was reduced to ash. Masada. A few hundred rebels held out at Masada, a fortress on a desert cliff. The Romans built a 500,000-ton ramp of dirt just to reach them. When they broke through, they found near total silence. The defenders had chosen to die free rather than be enslaved. Bar Kokhba. 60 years later, the Jews rose one final time under Bar Kokhba. Rome crushed it harder than ever. The emperor wanted Judea erased entirely, starting with its name. He took the name of the Jews' ancient enemies, the Philistines, and renamed the region Palestine. Jews were banned from Jerusalem. For the next 1,900 years, they had no country of their own. Christian Jerusalem. About 200 years later, Rome itself turned Christian. This dusty land became the most valuable place on earth because Jesus had lived and died here. Helena picked a hill and declared it Jesus's burial site. Her son built the Church of the Holy Sepulchre on top. In 614, a Persian army briefly captured Jerusalem, one tiny piece of land, now holy to two religions. Islam arrives out of Arabia, a new religion. Islam exploded outward, reaching Jerusalem's walls by 637. The city surrendered without a fight. Caliph Umar let Jews and Christians keep their faith in churches. Invited to pray inside the Holy Sepulchre itself, he refused to protect it. The Dome of the Rock Muslims had their own claim. Muhammad had ascended to heaven from a rock in the city. In 691, they built the Dome of the Rock on top of it. One rock, sacred to 3 of the world's largest religions at once. There was never going to be a peaceful way to share it. The Crusades. For 400 quiet years, Jerusalem stayed under Muslim rule. Then, in 1095, the Pope called on Christian Europe to take the city back. Tens of thousands marched for years across the world. In 1099, they broke through the walls and slaughtered Muslims and Jews by the thousands. Then built their own kingdom that lasted 88 years. Saladin. Until Saladin united the scattered Muslim armies, crushed the Crusaders, and retook Jerusalem. Unlike the Crusaders before him, he let the defeated Christians simply walk out alive. Richard the Lionheart. Europe sent its biggest name to win it back. Richard the Lionheart. He and Saladin fought for years and somehow came to respect each other. When Richard fell ill, Saladin sent him fruit and mountain snow. Richard won battle after battle, but never took Jerusalem itself. Mamluks and Mongols. The next rulers earned the land not by beating the Crusaders, but by stopping the Mongols. In 1260, the Mamluks beat the unstoppable Mongols by faking a retreat and luring them into a trap. The Mamluks ruled for centuries until the Ottoman Empire absorbed the region in 1517. Sultan Suleiman rebuilt Jerusalem's old city walls. For almost 400 years after that, the land simply went quiet. Zionism and return. Meanwhile, in Europe, the very people Rome had exiled were about to wake it back up. Jewish communities, scattered for 1,800 years, faced escalating violence. In 1896, journalist Theodor Herzl proposed a radical idea: stop waiting and build a Jewish homeland. Argentina and even British East Africa were considered, but the pull of the ancient homeland won out. For nearly 2,000 years, Jewish families had ended every Passover meal with 4 words: next year in Jerusalem. Now people were finally getting on boats to keep that promise. Waves of settlers arrived, draining swamps and farming land. In 1909, 66 families divided empty sand dunes near Jaffa and built a new city there. They called it Tel Aviv. Britain and the Balfour Declaration. Then a world war handed the region to one outside power, Britain. Britain made 3 contradictory contradictory promises. It told Arab leaders they'd get independence. It secretly carved up the Middle East with France. And in a 67-word letter, the Balfour Declaration, it promised support for a Jewish homeland. Jewish immigration surged after 1933 as Jews fled Nazi Germany, while Arab residents rose up in rebellion. Holocaust in 1947. Then came the Holocaust, 6 million Jews murdered in a few years. The argument for a Jewish homeland was by then settled. In 1947, the newly formed United Nations proposed splitting the land into 2 states. Jewish leaders accepted a state far smaller than they'd hoped. Arab leaders rejected the plan outright. Britain, exhausted, simply left. 1948. On May 14, 1948, David Ben-Gurion declared the birth of Israel. The U.S. recognized it 11 minutes later. The next morning, 5 Arab armies invaded at once. Israel, outnumbered and barely a day old, not only survived, it ended the war holding more land than the UN plan had given it. The Nakba, around 700,000 Palestinian Arabs fled or were driven from their homes. Many locked their doors, expecting to return in weeks. Some families still keep those keys today. At the same time, roughly 700,000 Jews were expelled from Arab countries. The same year was 2 completely opposite stories, both entirely true at once. 1967, WAR. In 1967, facing another Arab military buildup, Israel struck first. In 6 days, it shattered 3 armies and seized the Sinai, Gaza, the Golan Heights, and the West Bank, including, for the first time in 1,900 years, the old city of Jerusalem. But it now ruled millions of Palestinians who never wanted to be ruled by it. The same tension the world is still tangled in today. 1973 and peace. In 1973, Egypt and Syria launched a surprise attack on Yom Kippur. That near disaster pushed Egypt and Israel toward real peace. In 1979, Israel handed back the entire Sinai, and the peace is held since, though the Egyptian president who signed it was later assassinated. Modern conflict, peace with Egypt held. Peace with the Palestinians never came. Deal after deal collapsed, all the way to the Gaza war that erupted in October 2023, and the fragile ceasefire that barely holds today. The land a Roman emperor once tried to erase from history is now one of the most advanced nations on earth, built on the same rock that Jews, Christians, and Muslims have fought over since it was first declared holy. Every peace deal so far is cracked. Nobody has written the final chapter yet.